I'm Lindsay, and for the past 3 years, I've taken my van all over the United States in the pursuit of visiting every national park in the country. But it's been over a year since I've taken the van anywhere because a while ago, a huge mechanical issue forced me to cancel my plans to drive across the country last summer. And ever since then, this is what I've been waiting for. My next big road trip. Things are just barely starting to warm up where I live in the Northeast, so I figured this would be a good opportunity to go visit some parks with a warmer climate and to take the van across the country to experience a southwestern spring. Well, after 16 hours of driving over 3 days, I'm finally just outside of Big Bend, where I will be spending the next 5 days hiking through massive canyons, staying at isolated primitive campsites, and wading in the Rio Grande. Cattle crossing the road. After finally reaching one of the most remote national parks in the country, I could tell right away that it was going to be something special. So I've made it to my first trail, which is just inside the park boundary, the Devil's Den Trail. And I'm hoping to kind of do a bit of a trail run on it. I think this is potentially the flattest trail I will encounter here, so it seems like it'll be the only opportunity I have to do so. But luckily, the temperature is also not scorching, which hopefully makes this the perfect time to get a run in after all of that driving for like the past week. I feel like a dog that's been let out into an open field after a long car ride. I mean, I guess that's essentially what I am, minus the dog part, but this is great. Alright, after 4 miles, I have gotten to the end of the trail. For the last bit, I've just been following this canyon up along the edge, and it ends in this sort of just valley that it opens up into, with the mountains behind it, so sort of challenging, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And now it'll be all downhill on the way back, so I'm gonna head back to the van. Considering I did not twist any ankles, I'm definitely going to call that trail run a success. And now it is starting to get a little late, so I'm going to head over to my spot. Taking a trip to a national park, especially more remote ones like Big Bend, requires a lot of planning. So months ago, I reserved one of the backcountry camping spots here in the Grapevine Hills area of the park. But sometimes, no matter how prepared you are, the unexpected happens anyway.
Just got here, and these two were in the spot that I'd reserved months in advance, and I'm like, hey, like, you know this, you can't stay here, like, do you need a permit? Not to complain, but I'm gonna f***ing complain. I was looking forward to, like, having this area to myself and, like, taking a shower without having the windshield screen up. Okay, well, the intruders have left. You know, I kind of feel like a dick, but, like, I did say, you know, I was like, you are welcome to stay over there, technically, like, it's a big site, but I did, like, the van spot, I wanted to fit here and, like, have a view of the mountains, and, like, I needed to shower, and so, you know, I wanted to position myself in a certain way, and I've planned for months to come here, and then they just decide to rock up and, like, oh, no one's staying here, must be our lucky day. There is a lot of planning that goes into visiting places like this. I do go more into that, I guess. I made a video for patrons. It is as low as $2 a month, so if you'd like to see it, go ahead, but no pressure. It is basically an extensive look at how I planned this trip that I'm on right now. And even then, like, everything doesn't go perfectly, but I definitely do my homework enough to know that you need to reserve a site in Big Bend. I left Grapevine Hills a little later than I would have liked this morning, but I was definitely pretty tired after running 8 miles yesterday, so got out of my spot. I stopped for more gas, which was interesting. I noticed this massive spider on this, like, spill response kit on the underside of the lid. Not sure what kind it is. I'm not into spiders like that, but it's yeah, it's a reminder that there's stuff like that out here. Now I am here in the Chisos Basin area to head out on the window trail. The window trail here in Big Bend is named for the feature that the trail ends in, which is a large gap between the Chisos Mountains that gives hikers a framed view of the desert below. I was hoping I would see a flowering cactus. Nice. Just passed a guy coming back up, and he said, "Windows open." And it is. It definitely is.
After all the hiking I did today and yesterday, I decided I would treat myself. This is the Chisos Basin Lodge, which is the only hotel in the park and the only restaurant in the park. I'm actually among the last few waves of visitors here before the upcoming closure of the entire Chisos Basin area in July. The park plans to demolish the lodge and replace it with a new one, in addition to construction and maintenance for the surrounding campground and trails. So for the next 2 years, roughly, this entire area of the park will be closed, which I did not realize when I first booked this trip, but it makes me feel very lucky that I came here when I did. Now that I've had some time to eat and relax, and the temperature has finally cooled off a bit, there is one more trail that I wanted to see here in the Chisos Mountains, and that is the Lost Mine Trail. This trail has me climbing over 1,000 feet along this ridge for the next 2 miles, which means the view was about to get impressive pretty fast. Oh my god. Look at this view. So before it gets too dark out here, there is one more thing that I wanted to mention. And that is that I kind of have my first sponsor. I have become an All Trails ambassador, which is the app that I use to navigate on hikes like these. I've been using All Trails for years, and it's become an essential part of planning my trips. And with All Trails Plus, I can download maps to use offline, which is especially important in places that don't have service, like national parks. Click my link in the description for 30% off a 1-year subscription to All Trails Plus. The sun is not totally down yet, but essentially I need the headlamp to see 5 feet in front of me, so I'm going to concentrate on getting myself back down to the van, and I will see you tomorrow. So this morning I got in line at the Chisos Basin Visitor Center like as soon as they opened, because I wanted to make sure that I could get my backcountry camping permit for tomorrow night. And I got the spot that I wanted, so I'm really excited about that. Now that that is taken care of, I'm heading to the southernmost part of the park because it has been 3 days and I have still not seen the Rio Grande. There is so much to see here, and I'm sad to leave the Chisos Basin area because it's so beautiful, but I'm also very excited to see the water. Well, after driving 20 miles deeper down into the desert, it has gotten considerably hotter outside, but I have made it to my campsite down here at Rio Grande Village, and I'm excited to see the river for the first time. My first look at the river will actually be crossing it. This area of Big Bend contains a very small border crossing to the town of Boquillas del Carmen in Mexico. It does require a passport, but things are otherwise very informal. So in the facility back there, they checked my passport, made sure everything looked good and all that, and just waved me through. So it wasn't too crazy, but I am kind of late, so I have less than 2 hours to go and cross the river, get into town, get some lunch, and come back. Honestly, don't think it's going to be that hard, but yeah,
we do have a time limit, so I have to be back by 4 or else I am stranded in Mexico for the night. The water here is shallow enough that you can just walk across, but if you don't feel like getting wet, there is a local guy with a rowboat who will take you across for $5. The village itself is about a half mile from the river, and there is the option to take a horse into town with a guide, which I use as an opportunity to utilize both my poor horseback riding skills and my poor Spanish speaking skills.
Hace mucho tiempo desde montar un caballo.
And after sufficiently embarrassing myself, I made it to one of the 2 restaurants in town for lunch. And it was getting late, so I had to leave, but when we got back to the main road, my horse, Colorado, was gone. I was fine just walking back with my guide, but then we intercepted some donkeys.
You don't need a donkey?
Listo? And I'm just gonna tell you, nobody looks cool riding a donkey, but I got there just in time to cross the river and back into Texas. That was awesome. I feel like I didn't film a lot because I was a little shy. My guide, Angel, was really nice. They were like, do you want to take a horse into town? And even though I wasn't planning on it, I was kind of like, I'm short on time, so I might as well and ride a horse. So a lot of fun, and it was worth just like spending a whole day to do this. Well, since I got back from Mexico, I've literally just been sitting here in the campground kind of waiting for the sun to go down because it is so hot. But there's still some interesting things happening around here. There's all these wild horses here just like roaming around the campgrounds. So even though I crossed the Rio Grande yesterday, today I'm hoping to actually kind of like go in it and on it. I brought my inflatable kayak with me all the way from home. So, oh my god, there's a roadrunner. Hi. Meep meep. Anyways, I have my inflatable kayak from home, so after breakfast, my plan is to do the dishes and I guess head down to the boat launch. But before I could even finish breakfast, a few more visitors stopped by. It's a javelina. Oh my god, it's multiple javelinas. There's one on my hat. Look, look guys, I'm one of you. Now they're just coming right through my campsite. Hi, buddies. I'm glad they weren't interested in my pancakes. I was just going to scope out how far away the water is from the parking area to see like how far I'd have to drag the kayak. And there are some wild horses down here. I brought this inflatable kayak with me all the way to Big Bend because I really wanted to paddle on the Rio Grande. But the water levels in the river fluctuate, and sometimes the water is too low to effectively float. That was my main concern, so I chose this section of river near the campground to paddle upstream a few miles to the old hot spring before coming back down here to the van. And while I had been worried about the river not having enough water, I never even considered the opposite problem.
Well, this is so cool, but I think I gotta be honest with you. I think this is just too damn hard. I think the current, I just can't go up against the current. You can see how fast I'm moving backwards just by sitting still. Like I'm going as hard as I can, and I'm just like doing like inches against the current. It was a nice break to get out on the water at least, but I think I've only gone like a half a mile. So I'm definitely not going to complete my goal of getting to hot springs on the water. So I'm just gonna let the current carry me back for now, and I think I'll probably try to head there on foot instead.
And after just a short walk, I arrived at the ruins of the old Langford Hot Spring.
Wow. It's 105 degrees, so don't know if it's what I needed today. I'm glad I ended up coming here despite my initial plan failing. And after I saw the current and was in the current, it's kind of no surprise. Totally worth it to come regardless, but wish I could stay longer. But the water is actually kind of caustic, so you're not supposed to stay in for more than like 10 minutes.
Plus, I had places to be. It was time to drive to the western part of the park to spend the night alone in the desert. This is the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive, a 30-mile stretch of road that will lead me to my final stop here in Big Bend, with endless desert in every direction. One of Big Bend's most impressive features is the Santa Elena Canyon, a section of rock wall along the Rio Grande that reaches up to 1,500 feet high. And now that I'm here, I think I may have saved the best for last.
This is my view from 80 feet above the river in the Santa Elena Canyon. Hi! Paulo!
Well, other than my game of Marco Polo with some strangers, it is really, really quiet here in the canyon. I could hear some rocks falling, like shearing off of the rock wall and like making contact with other rock, and it just reverberates throughout the entire canyon. Kind of scary. Sun is probably gonna go down pretty soon, so I should get to my final spot. By the time I got here last night, it was already dark, so I couldn't really see what was surrounding me, but I have just been spending my last morning here in Big Bend watching the sunrise over the mountains over there. So this has been a pretty amazing last spot for this national park. Ocotillo Grove, by the way. An ocotillo is a plant. It's a tree, and there are a ton of them around here. Anyways, now that the sun is like really up now, it's probably gonna start getting hot soon, and I need to get out of here so I can head on to my next park. Well, I've procrastinated leaving this spot as long as I could by cleaning the van and having some breakfast, but it's gonna be a bumpy ride out of here, and I have about 4 hours to go until my next park, so I think it's time to leave Big Bend. This place really is just massive. It lives up to its name and more. It is just so big that you could keep coming back and see something new every single time. And incredibly, it's still only the 14th largest park in the United States. And even though this entire country is dauntingly large, I don't really mind all the time it takes to drive from place to place. There's just something about appreciating the distance in between that will always be pretty irresistible to me.